We run almost 9,000 stores, but we like to call ourselves convenience ecosystem because on top of the stores, we also have a set of other businesses which are digital, which encircle the Polish consumers, and all together they, serve different convenience-related missions. This digital transformation is not a gimmick, it's not something that is 10 years away. It's actually creating results here and now. Any company at the moment that is not on top of the digital game will or have a high risk of being disrupted and being effectively out of the market. I think the most important value that I actually use is hard work. Right? That without the hard work, the talent will not get you anywhere. I know plenty of super talented people that failed or didn't achieve their potential because of lack of hard work.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Tomasz Blicharski, who is the Executive VP Board Member and Managing Director of Żabka Future at Żabka in Polska. A very warm welcome, Tomasz.
Hi, Henrik. Great to be here.
Tomasz, you have a master's degree in finance from the Warsaw School of Economics and a postgrad in business from Stanford University. You started your career in 2007 in private equity at a company called Mid-Europa Partners. And you start working for Żabka as their CFO in 2015. So Tomasz, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How the hell do you go from private equity to leading a role in a retailer with a focus on digital transformation and turning the business around? Who are you? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, indeed. I've changed my career at least once before. So I was, graduated from finance. I went to London, worked in London in finance. I've moved to investment side of the equation and spent quite a bit of time on the investment side. Within that role, I was responsible for, among other, retail investments in the region. And the fund I worked with, which is the leading fund in Central and Eastern Europe, focused on so-called private equity investments, acquired Żabka. So within that, I became the board member of Żabka, part of a supervisory board, and I spent 4 years there while the company has been growing and changing. At some point, it was visible that some additional changes will be required to make the company successful over the longer period of time, and that's where I kind of came, let's say, down to the managerial role, to the board level of the company, management board level. And I've become part of the new team that started to make these changes. And that's how I changed my career for the first time. I was the CFO. I was responsible for change of the company, as well as running the finance and other areas. And within that capacity, I liked it so much, because at the first it was an interim role, that I'd say it stayed over. And why I liked it so much? Because I was fascinated by the fact that a manager makes so many different decisions every single day, and these decisions altogether, they can lead the company to somewhere, to being somewhere completely else where it currently is. This is unlike on the investor side, where you make relatively fewer decisions, but each of them have great financial value. I like this way of operating more than the investment side of the equation. And that's how the journey started. And we soon realized that on top of improving the company operationally, opening more stores, making these stores better, changing the organization, we can actually change it also using digital tools, transform it digitally. So this is what happened started happening in 2016, 2017, where we kind of see that there is a lot of value to be created for the shareholders, for all the stakeholders of the company through that, using these tools.
So Tomasz, tell me a little bit more about Żabka. I mean, it's a very well-known brand in Poland, but not in the rest of the world. So Żabka is a retail chain, is that correct?
Yes, it is. We run almost 9,000 stores, but we like to call ourselves now convenience ecosystem, because on top of the stores, almost 9,000 stores, we also have a set of other businesses which are digital, which encircle the Polish consumers, and altogether they serve different convenience-related missions through that set of services.
Okay, and you're in the middle of a store right now, and this is a kind of a revolutionary store. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Indeed, I'm in a store, as you can see from my background, but it's not a traditional store. It's a store of it's actually one of the kind. It's not only an autonomous store, so a store in which there's no physical checkout process. You enter with a credit card or an app, you pick up the goods and you leave, but also it's partially robotized. Actually, Żabka, all the Żabka stores are famous for its Żabka Cafe. And the hero product of Żabka Cafe is a hot dog. And in our pursuit of automation and robotization, we actually figure out how can we serve these products in stores which do not have physical personnel typically. And that's how we kind of created a robot that prepares hot dogs. It's the only one so far in our chain, but we're already kind of exploring that further. And it's actually a huge success. It not only does almost 200 hot dogs per day, but also it created a lot of interest from the media and also from the public. There are actually queues of people outside who are looking at these, not only buying the hot dog, but also looking how they're being prepared. It's a very special process. And it helped us to promote the Żabka Nano chain and the new way of shopping among the consumers.
Okay, great. So we're in an automated store with a hot dog robot, and we're going to talk about the digital transformation and the change you and the team have implemented in Żabka. So if we look back a couple of years ago, what are the drivers for change in Żabka and in general? What are the drivers for change in retail nowadays? And what is it that retailers need to do to stay relevant and to grow their business?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. Ahead of when we started our digital transformation, we, as a senior team, went to many different places around the globe to kind of inspire ourselves, right? And we have seen that in many of these places, retail has been vastly disrupted. Right, you look. We went to Silicon Valley to the U.S. and we see how non-food retailers were affected by the newcomers, by startups, by new ways of providing services to the customers, and that made us think on how can we build our business over the long term, and how can we be successful over the long term. And we felt that even though we were not disrupted by anyone here in Poland, we felt that we have to, in a way, disrupt ourselves and think, in the longer term, to actually stay competitive, stay winning. And as part of that, digital transformation was effectively key to that, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that any retail, in a way, any company at the moment that is not on top of the digital game will or have a high risk of being disrupted and being effectively out of the market in the next 5 to 15 years. So that's the culture, that's the strategic plan that we have created and we have been implementing starting from 2017.
Okay, so that's the why. The why is you don't want to be disrupted, so you need to disrupt the industry itself by implementing a new ways of working, new ways of serving the clients. So then let's move to the what. What is it exactly that you did? I understand that you kind of split the company in Żabka Traditional and Żabka Future. Is that the way that you went for it?
Yeah, look, even before that, I mean, let's take one step back. I mean, you can, digital has, and it's going to be very kind of consultant-like, but digital transformation can have either of the two impact on the business. You can either increase revenue or decrease costs, period, right? So you can do digital transformation either to optimize the way you operate inside the company to be more efficient, or you can create new businesses or revenue lines to effectively increase your top line, right? And we started first on this efficiency side. And we started on the efficiency side because we wanted first to have results sooner, to have a buy-in of the entire team, because it's not only that senior team has to have a buy-in to digital transformation, but sometimes even more importantly, all the managers in the company need to have a buy-in, right? So that's why we started with something that would, on the efficiency side, which have results relatively sooner than later. And we also kind of pre-selected things that would have a rather, sizable impact so that everyone sees that. Right? So we actually started digital transformation with data analytics and using machine learning and AI. And we have effectively started with use cases which are relatively close to the core of the business, but also have plenty of data around it, so that even, let's say, small change could produce a sizable visible impact. Right? So we started with pricing, we started with assortment selection, we started with new location search. So we use data to improve these areas of the company. So when we introduced the new approach to pricing, we were able to increase our sales and our margin at the same time. That created a big buy-in of the entire team. Then we differentiated the assortment between the different store types using the data approach. That was a big success. And finally, we're able to open new stores, much better stores, because we use the data to achieve that. But also, importantly, people who do that could focus on select areas where the data suggests that it makes sense to open potentially. And therefore, we are able to increase the speed of expansion quite significantly. Actually, we doubled it from 500 to 1,000 stores per year. So with that built a foundation for us that we believe that this new way of operating the digital transformation is not a gimmick. It's not something that is 10 years away. It's actually creating results here and now. And based on that, we started to create businesses. We started to create products for the consumers, right? So the first product was the Żabka App. So the consumer app that we launched in 2018, 2019. The idea behind this, let's create a digital product that would effectively connect us better with younger consumers, right? So we called it digital engagement platform, right? It included specialized offers, included the new loyalty program around it. It included, over time, several different services that are targeting the consumers. And it became an immediate success, right? And millions of people downloaded the app. More than 3 million monthly active users now, up to 1 million daily active users. People, younger generation, all of them collect the loyalty points, which we call Żabs. And there is a hype around it. They all want these individualized offers to, then they go to stores. We see that the basket size of a consumer who enrolled and used the app is increased by 15%, right? So there is a hype, there's connection, but there is a material business impact from all of that. And that once we launched that, which was still under the old, let's say, structure, we realized that in order to make 2-3 steps ahead, we have to change the structure so that, in a way, we create organization that has left and right hand. Left hand is effective, right hand, that's maybe better, is focused on day-to-day business, running the stores, and the left hand is focused on building these longer-term value through building the digital businesses. And with that, we were able to become quickly the leader in Europe in autonomous stores. We have 50 stores at the moment. Amazon is number 2 in Europe. We have more autonomous stores in Poland than Amazon has in the US, which is the company which is something that probably Amazon is not aware of, but we're proud of that. We were able to become leaders in quick commerce, which we launched a year ago, whereby we lead the market with 2 brands. And we were able to acquire some of the companies, because I still remember my kind of former background, in direct to consumers space in food, and we were leaders in that. So with that, we created this ecosystem that I've mentioned originally, and that was possible because we were able to kind of change the structure as well.
Okay, so let's unpack all of that, because there's a lot to talk about, right? So you started, in fact, thinking as a CFO, and you say, well, where can we optimize? Where can we do more with what we have, with the structure that we have? I mean, you said you're opening 1,000 new stores a year, is that correct?
Yeah, more than 1,000 now.
And only in Poland?
Only in Poland, for the moment.
Well, okay. So, and so selecting these 1,000 spots, locations, is of course very, very important. Can you give us tell us a little bit more on how you optimize store location, how that program works?
Yeah, when you have now almost 9,000 existing stores, and you have plenty of data points on what surrounds them. And I'm giving an example, what is the wealth of people living around the store? How many people passes in front of the store? What are the points of interest close to the store? And there are actually 3,000 separate parameters for each of the stores. So I mean, there's more to be kind of unpacked here. But let's stop here for the moment here. Then you have the perfect data set to effectively optimize on what you want to achieve, right? Because you can create you can think about all the lookalikes that are out there, right? With so many data, right? So you have everything covered, every single possibility with 9,000 stores plus the thousands of this data points for each of the store. So now when we go with all of that, that we effectively, in a way, using cloud computing and machine learning, we checked what the performance of a Żabka store be in every single address point in Poland. So we checked 8.7 million address points in Poland, which is all there exist. And moreover, we have not only, we check performance, but we have also overlaid any potential future cannibalization between these points. So, it's like think about it, like an imaginary exercise, like what would be if your stores were everywhere and we were affecting each other, right? And based on this huge map, we created hotspots, right? We created heat maps where it makes sense for us to open stores, where it makes sense to look for potential locations. Because at the end of the day, looking for potential locations is, you go to someone, there is real estate out there, you need to sign the lease contract, right? It's a lot of labor that has to happen, right? And once we had all of these data, the people in the expansion team could have focused on those locations which made, hypothetically using, all this technology more sense. And then when we opened the store, we checked what is the forecast, between what the system, proposes as a forecast and then what is the reality. And they're very close to each other. It's like only a few percentage points of a difference. So over time, we become more and more reliant on this system, which enabled us to optimize the opening machine. And as I said, the people could be more focused on a location, on areas where it makes more sense. And therefore, we also kind of eliminate cognitive biases, which, as you know, is always part of the problem, right? So these two kind of, these two combined, they effectively create this great cocktail that, in a way transfers into a result, which is the higher quality, less errors, and better speed.
And am I correct that the business model there of these 9,000 stores is that is a franchise model that you run? So you lease the properties, you don't buy the properties, you lease them, and then you find franchisors to open the.
Yeah, exactly. We look at the location ourselves. We sign a lease. We look for franchisees separately. Franchisee, has to accept the location, but once we have the data and show them, look, this is how it's going to perform more or less. If you take it over, this is what the profit's going to be. I mean, it's much easier for them also to kind of to accept that. Yeah.
Wow, that's, I mean, and you plan to open 1,000 every year for the next coming years?
That
sounds
you know,
very ambitious.
I think our white space is still considerable. I mean, Poland is, relatively big country, right? We have almost 40 million of people. We can still open quite a few more. That's what I can say.
Let's go to the app again. So you launched a couple of years ago an app. It's not an e-commerce app. It's not an app where I can buy stuff, but it's basically the main purpose is a loyalty program for your clients. How can you make a loyalty program sexy and attractive?
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a challenge.
Oh
Right?
yes, that's something that was on our mind when we were creating this. Look, I mean, the reason why it's sexy and successful is, first of all, you don't collect points, you collect jobs, which is like our own currency, right? Which it's a small difference, but it creates this buzz among the consumer, especially the younger consumers. Secondly, you can exchange these into some hero products of Żabka, right? So you can, however little you have almost of these points, there's always something for you to exchange for, but there's always something additional for you to save, right? So there are, let's say, smaller rewards and the bigger rewards. And thirdly, it's not only the Żabka products which you can exchange it for, but you can also exchange the points itself. Actually, you can send the points to someone else, the jobs. If you have a son, right, or a daughter, you can, you collected the jobs yourself. You can actually send them for them to have, so that they have a bigger pool, right, and they can spend more. And that's on one hand. And secondly, you can also exchange it for special causes. And I think this is super important for us, right? Let me give you an example of what this super special cause is. When the COVID started, we introduced the ability to donate points for hospitals. And the hospitals, early in the COVID, they got items or money from us only when the people donated. That created a huge wave of donations, right? We were able to collect or donate millions in a span of a few weeks because people got really engaged into it. When the Ukraine conflict started, we enabled people to support the Ukrainians, and they were donating the jobs as well. And there is just two examples, but there's many more around this. So in a way, it's one of the few kind of loyalty schemes whereby you could not only do something for yourself, but also for the society, which is extremely close to our business philosophy.
Wow, that's very impressive. And what are the plans for the app? Because I mean, a good app is like a toothbrush. It's something that you use every day.
Yeah.
So how can you, is this app becoming more and more of an ecosystem as well? Do you plan to build partnerships around that? What's the goals there?
Yeah, indeed. In my view, you always have to develop the app. You cannot stand still. If you're standing still, you're just falling behind the others, right? So obviously, we plan and we constantly develop the app. So as I said, initially you were just the loyalty and some non-individualized offers. So like offers that are for everyone, right? Over time, we added additional services. For example, in Żabka stores, you can, if you order a parcel online, typically online, and from Amazon or in Poland it's Allegro typically, you can also pick it up at Żabka store, right? We have this physical service, right? You go to a store, you give a QR code, and then you pick up your parcel, right? We have included in the app ability to manage this. Also the returns from the use of the app, right? So we added the feature, right? Additional feature to the app. We added a feature whereby, and that's also related to our, business philosophy. You as a customer could collect certain products which are close to expiry date. it's a little bit similar to like Too Good To Go or these kind of companies, right? Whereby the franchisees prepare these parcels and you don't know what's inside, but you can buy it at a discounted rate from a stores, right? So we included this possibility within our app. We are also at the store I'm in, the autonomous store. It's also, you can access it by using the app, right? So you can access it either through credit card, or if you have the app and we have the payment system, Żabka Pay, then you can also enter with a. So gradually, this app is becoming what we call central app for the ecosystem, right? And we are thinking about going in that direction. Give more reasons to open the app for the consumer. Since it's already very popular, it also enables us to acquire new customers to our young businesses much faster and much cheaper, right? We have 9 million users. So in a way, if I open the Q-commerce business and we do a push notification to to the people which are in the range of the service, it's much easier for them to get to know this business and become our customers in the new businesses. So I think this is the direction we wanna make with the app, to do more of that, add features for the customers, and also for it to become the central piece of the ecosystem.
Let's talk a bit more about the autonomous stores, because I mean that's really, really impressive that you in Poland have more autonomous stores than Amazon has in the US today. So what is special? What is in the water in Poland that you do this? That you have these 50 stores? How come you're so far ahead of all the other retailers in this space?
Yeah, I mean it's a combination of few factors, right? So first of all, we are really innovative as a retailer, right? And we spotted this trend and potential that autonomous stores bring quite early on in the game, right? So we started working on this back in 2018, right? Which was almost
very early,
4 years ago, right? We then through our US connections invested in Silicon Valley startup, which prepares the core technology. So auto checkout technology, which is purely based on deep learning technology, right? So it's computer vision only. So we were early investors in one of these startups. We selected them because we believe that they understand the problem and the complexity of it the best from a few startups we've discussed with. And then we worked, because we were able to invest in them, we were able to effectively be very close to them and develop this technology, help them develop this technology. Provide them with the challenges that are around this technology. For example, it has to be very cheap to make it work, right? It cannot be overly complex, right? Many people went into sensor fusion technologies, including, I think, Amazon itself, which is relatively expensive because you have specialized cameras, you have shelf sensors, which cost a lot of money. And if we want to make this useful and something that is in real life, it has to be cheap, right? So that's why we kind of discussed with them, it has to be camera only. We have to make it work as a camera only solution. And because we have such a great cooperation, we were able to open internal pilot stores already in 2019, and then over time to polish this technology so that we're able to go out to real consumers a year ago in mid 2021. So we opened our first store in 2021, and then we liked the buzz of the people. We loved the fact that people, the NPS that we measure NPS on a daily basis, is around 80. It's the highest in Polish retail, at least. That's what we think, right? Because the consumers love this way of shopping. Not all of them, of course. Not all of them are, technologically enabled, but those who shop in these stores, they absolutely love the experience, the freedom, the speed. It's really kind of something that we felt, hey, if the consumer like it so much, we need to open more stores. We need to make sure that we fine-tune the format, that we exactly tailor it to to the consumer needs. And this is where we are now, right? We have 50 stores. We know what consumers want. We know what are the issues with autonomous shopping, because obviously there are issues as always, right? That we have to solve. And we are, I think, ahead of the pack on that. And I believe that in the longer term, this technology can really be something that will be embedded in, many retail stores.
Okay. And this attracts a specific demographic, or this is for everybody, these kind of autonomous?
Well, of course, it's for everybody that has a credit card or debit card or our app, right? But obviously, not all the consumers are, as inclined to use these, let's say, devices as frequent as some others, right? So if we look at our demographic profile of the consumers who actually shop, it's skewed toward the younger consumer, right? The younger ones are, let's say, first adopters, and they're easier to kind of experiment and effectively go into stores like these, right? So compared to our, let's say, traditional store, all the stores that we have, right? The Żabka Polska, the skew is towards younger ones, right? So you have people 20 something to 30 something that are, let's say, better represented compared to the older demographics. But I think it's only a matter of time before this is equalized, right?
Yeah, but I can imagine, your traditional stores also have a kind of a social function, right? I mean, people go there and know who's running the business, and they can have a chat, and they're older people, they can get out and have a coffee or a hot dog or whatever, and so that aspect is not there anymore. So how do you see this? What is your personal vision of this? You're going to go to a 50-50 split in the future of people-run businesses and autonomous businesses. Where do you see this going?
At the moment, the format is tailored so that it complements the core business, right? So the stores are smaller, and the break-even point, given the lack of personnel, is much lower. So we can open them in catchment areas, as using retail lingo, where our regular stores would not work for certain reason, right? We're able to open them in, on the high street, obviously, but also inside another store, right? And we have partnerships, and we open inside other store. We can open it inside the office buildings, or inside the hospitals, or schools, or campuses, right? So in a way, in areas where for a certain reason there doesn't make sense to open our core format, right? So this is where we focus for the moment, right? Obviously, over the longer period of time, once the technology matures and the let's say customer adaptation is finalized, I can see this being widespread. I can see, for example, stores being run in a hybrid model in the near future, whereby because all these stores are 24/7, right? Our regular stores are have timing limitations, right? So I can see stores run in a hybrid model. I can see, for example, that in the stores in a very high traffic location, as opposed to adding additional, let's say, employee, you may have the system to do part of the checkout. And then over the longer period of time, obviously, I see this as being a mainstream technology, but that's something that is still ahead of us.
So before we go to the technology, the IT, the organization part of all this, Tomasz, I also understand that you have a direct-to-consumer business as well, started in Poland also. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is something that we acquired last year, two separate businesses that we acquired last year. One is called Matchfeed, and is direct-to-consumer market leader and producer of food. I'm gonna go through what the service is about. And the other one is Dietly.pl, which is the SaaS software provider and the marketplace for the same service. So we have two businesses, and we're the definite market leader in that space. Now, what is it all about? Think about it from the consumer standpoint. I want to have a healthy life. I want to feed myself well using organic and healthy ingredients. But at the same time, I don't want to go to the store at all. I want to save time. I don't have time to go to the store. What I can do is I can download the app or go to the web page of one of these producers, and then I subscribe to a full meal diets, which are delivered to me every single day in the morning. And then part of that I just heat up when I need to consume it. Part of that is I consume cold, like salads or snacks. But part of that I kind of heat up, and therefore I don't spend any time almost on shopping. I have a vast selection of choice. Matchfeed has more than 6,000 recipes, active recipes. So there is no repetition. For every single meal, I have a choice. I have a selection. So I select, among 7 breakfasts, 7, snacks, 7 lunches day before, and then it's delivered to my doorstep the next day. And it's all healthy. It's all organic. I know I'm not overeating. If I want to lose calories, lose kind of weight, I can select a program that will enable me to do that. And this way of, let's say, eating has become really popular in Poland. And obviously it was exacerbated by the pandemics, right? So at any given moment of time, there are several 100,000 people in Poland who live this way and use this service. And we were we love that, right? We love it's very much in the spirit of convenience, right? You make people's life easier because of this. It's also under the trend of healthy nutrition and the sustainable lifestyle, etc., which we loved as well. And that's why we decided to go for it and make these acquisition and for these two businesses to become the integral part of our ecosystem.
Wow! So it's everyday healthy food on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And then all the meals and the snacks during the day. So it's different than let's say the HelloFresh model, where you then have to get it every week and cook it yourself. So it's a daily healthy food delivery. Wow.
Yeah, and people love it
because
of this different of the choice they have, right? And then there is no big need required to prepare it, right? So you just heat it up in the oven or in the microwave, depending on the preferences. And that's it, voila, right? And then you have this choice, and then that everything is just being prepared, it's fresh, the ingredients are balanced. So in a way, you in our busy lifestyles, there are only as many things as you can worry about as a person, and that eliminates one of the things, right? That's why younger, white collar people across the entire Poland, not only big cities, also small cities, they effectively are users of these services.
So you and the teams at Żabka, you have completely turned around the company, in fact, since 2015 when private equity took over and changed management team. You really innovated a lot with digital on many different levels, on store location, on efficiency, on reducing costs, but also on innovating new ways of giving the customer convenience, delivering at home direct models, and so on and so on. So that means that you must have a very, very strong IT and digital organization to be able to do that. So I can imagine that you came from a more traditional one, and then you had to build up new skills, new capacities to do that. So can you tell us a little bit the story, the journey that IT and digital has gone through the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're completely right in your assessment. It was a story of change. We started. We always as a company, I think we're a little bit ahead of some others with our IT, but obviously the key kind of KPI there was it has to be cheap and it has to work, right? I mean, using simple language, right? Many traditional organizations, this is the key way of running IT, right? So it has to function, right? So that systems have a high availability. And you have to, the budget has to be under control, right? And that was our organization as well, right? So over time, we went through a process whereby separately next to the original IT organization, we created the new digital organization that was reporting to me, right? So in order to accelerate the change management, we create, a position of chief digital officer, chief data officer. We created separate teams who are, let's say, these translators between the technology to business, and that was something that was working for 2 years around the 2-year period. But then we decided, once we kind of were progressing, that it's better to work in a model to collapse the two, right, effectively, and create the product teams that effectively are composed from from the, let's say, more of a digital-minded business people as well as technology people. They work in a product way, agile product way or type of organization, and obviously their key focus is to deliver business value.
So that's very cool. So you first of all, you kind of disrupt the IT and the digital function by creating completely new teams, and they work on the innovation part and so on and so on. And then after a couple of years, you blend it, you integrate everything together, and you reorganize it more by product, by programs, and one team for the app, and so on, I can imagine. So tell us a little bit about the current IT operating model. How is it organized? And you have still the different roles, CIO, CDO, and so on?
We do not have the typical IT department. We actually, in our company, there's no IT department officially. There's only technology department, because we wanted it to be broader, right, than just typical IT, right? So within this technology department, there are teams that are organized around products, and obviously we have platforms as well below it. And the way they work, their biggest, let's say, KPI is obviously to deliver, and it has to work, etc. But their key KPIs is the business impact of what they create and what they deliver on, right? So if I create, let's say we introduced the app for the franchisees to run their stores, right? Some years ago, right? So effectively, we were thinking, okay, how can we make the franchisees' life easier? And they had different systems, right? So we said, okay, let's create an app for the franchisee, right? Whereby in this app they could run the store from the app. So we created a team, product team around this. We invited the franchisees. We did design thinking process with the franchisees, who are the customers of the app. And then we launched the MVP of the product. We then fine-tuned it with the franchisees, and that became the core of the product, right? Over time, we're adding features to this product. We're obviously making sure we're aligned with the franchisees as the customers, right, of that product, and we're developing this app. We developed the front end ourselves, right? But on the back end, we put Salesforce, right? So we put Salesforce, which is the platform that we use to manage the processes in the operational part of the company, right? So in a way, I give you this example is a perfect example how we work, right? We create apps on platforms, right? And we expand platforms to effectively be able to effectively eliminate the technological debt and speed up the, let's say, the future development.
Okay. And can you give us a bit of an overview? What are the different product groups? How many are there? How big are they? Can you give a bit of a vision?
Yeah. Look, that was one example. Is one of the product groups. But we have, let's say, the product groups are within, let's say, areas of the business, right? So you have a store team that deals with all the technology in the store, right? So you have POS, you have the WMS, you have everything that happens with the store. You have core processes team, so HQ processes team, which deals typically with ERP, right, and around ERP. You have communications team, which deals with tools, for the communication in a company between the different groups. And you have these apps related team, which deals with all the applications on all the platforms. These are, obviously you have security, or you have cloud infrastructure, network infrastructure, all these underlying teams which run across all the product teams in a way, right? Because they provide services to all of them and all the company. So in a way, it's, this way of thinking first enabled us to shorten the time to market for us. Secondly, it gave us better coordination and ownership among the people, and ultimately it decreased the cost as well. We have teams that are internal, but we also outsource. So part of the, let's say, resources within all the teams is in a way outsourced, right? So we do not insource everything. We use software houses sometimes. We use some technology providers because we want, in a way, to control. We don't want to hire too many people in areas where maybe it don't make sense to hire them only for several months, right? Only. And with that, we have around 200 people in the core team inside the company, and we have several hundred additional ones that work outside.
Okay, and so you have one person leading the technology
exactly.
department.
So it's like we have a CDO, right? CTO type of.
CTO is running, and that's all technology, including store technologies and so on. And so what is your role then today? And what has it been in this last 5 years? Your role has changed. You started as a very cost-conscious CFO, I can imagine. If you come from private equity and you have to look at the investment that you've done, but now, and then you were leading, I think, the digital transformation. And what are you doing today? Can you tell us a little bit about your role in that?
I wasn't a very typical CFO because as an investor, you have to be an optimist. Because your job is to take risk and get rewarded by the risk. So, in a way, you have to be an optimist to take risk, right? Otherwise, you only see risk and would not be able to take it. So you're not going to be able to be a successful investor if you're a pessimist, right? While some CFOs are, pessimists, right? So with that in mind, I always have this element of, building for the future and not only kind of focusing on the cost. But obviously, in the first period, we had to kind of clean the house first, right? So that was my job to facilitate and lead that. Over time, I've added the second leg of the development role. So I had a CFO role and a development role, where I was, in a way, I was leading this digital teams and data teams. And now, starting from 2021, so a year and a half ago, as MD of Żabka Future, and when we created this business unit, I'm solely focused on building, as we call it, second leg or second, additional legs of the growth for our group, right? So I'm focusing on how to build businesses beyond our core Żabka Polska business, so a core convenience business in Poland. And I have first focused a lot on building this digital ecosystem that complemented the physical part, because I believe that this is the way, to go about consumer going forward. And now I'm thinking what I do next. And there are many kind of avenues that I can take. One of them is international, for example, right? One of them is something that we could do outside of Poland, right? We have, I think, very excellent business in Poland, but obviously, if you think about the longer term for a group like ours, such a dynamic company, the obvious question that comes to mind is, can you replicate some of that outside of Poland? This is something that I've been spending quite a bit of time.
So you spent your time trying to figure out how can we grow the business, either with new services and creating more convenient services to the clients, like the direct business that you've done. What companies can we acquire, and how could we roll this out internationally and into the rest of the world, organic or through acquisitions, exactly, or whatever. I mean, you have the best job in the company, right?
Well, I think that one could say that, but also there is a lot of responsibility that comes with it, right? If you think about it, all the things that I'm dealing with are new, young, immature. So in a way, there's a lot of, in such a context, it's very difficult to predict the future very well. So a lot of challenges that comes, and with this, privilege, there is a big responsibility and obviously also quite a lot of things to do.
So Tomasz, tell me your secret. I mean, to make big transformations and big organizations, to innovate, to bring out new business models and so on, you can only do this by attracting the right people, by keeping the right people, by growing, by making your team successful. What is your approach? What is your secret of success in managing successful teams?
Look, I think my formula is relatively simple. I think there are three constituents really which are key to the success. On one hand, it's to create a vision and attract people, the best talent, so to say, to that vision, right? The second is to remove the boundaries. So remove any showstoppers, any blockers from their road. And third is to align the interests so when we're successful, they're successful. And I think these are the three only ingredients that are necessary to be successful. Having said that, in each case, and it sounds relatively simple, but in each case, obviously that means something else. The setup is different, and the playground is different, and the level of difficulty is different. So
yeah, let's talk about these three. I mean, how do you create and communicate a vision? Can you give an example of how you do that?
Yeah, look, for example, for autonomous stores, right? I mean, when we started working on this in 2018, it was such a novelty that nobody understood the concept, right? It was even difficult to, to inspire someone because it was such an unknown, right, at that stage, right? So what we did is we went to the US. We seen the first Amazon's Go store that was out there, and I told them, look, feel the freedom of the consumer, right? When you enter such a store, we should, we should really look into this because I believe that this freedom plus some other benefits for the consumer, but also for the retailer, stemming from that innovation, can be great, right? Over the longer period of time. And this is how it started, right? Then, for other business, let's say quick commerce business, we decided to bring in team of managers from the outside, from Asia. So these are Polish people mostly, not only Polish, but that came to create this business with us mostly from another country, right? Why Asia? Because obviously Asia is a pioneer of Q-commerce, right? It's actually the longest since it's been operating over there, right? Southeast Asia. So that's why we did that. We brought in people that understood that business much better than anyone that just being in Poland, right? And we created an incentive for others to join.
Okay. The second ingredient of your management and leadership success is taking away boundaries for your teams. Can you give an example of how you do that?
Yeah, look, obviously no organization works in a perfect way. There are always some wrinkles. There are always some, interest groups, etc. So if my people convince me that there is a need for something that from any asset, from anything from the organization, and they can't get it, that's my role to effectively enable that for them, right? And that's what I do, right? That's why I'm kind of the door opener, right? To someone that I know from the organization has access to this asset, or convince someone at the different levels of the organization to actually enable that access and a way how this can be accessed by someone from works in these younger businesses.
Okay. And the third aspect you said was aligning success and personal success to business success? How do you do that?
Well, we create short and long-term incentives for people. It is something that our business philosophy to reward people for the job they're successfully do. Our short-term incentive scheme, our cash compensation is heavily skewed toward short-term incentive scheme. So, the annual bonuses are probably on the bigger end, if not the biggest among the industry in Poland. And we also have for special level of people, longer-term incentives as well. And all of this is created so that we share the success in a way, right, with them.
Okay. If I would go to the people that work around you for the last couple of years, and I would ask them what kind of leader that they are, what do you think they will say about you when you're not around?
I hope only good things, but no, I'm joking. I mean, as always, there are good and bad parts of anyone, right? Anyone has stronger and weak and some weaknesses. So on a strong part, I'm sure they will say that I inspire them, that I help them to achieve what they want to achieve. Sometimes, against the odds, right, with some of these businesses or some of these initiatives. Having said that, on a, let's say, more negative side, sometimes I'm impatient. Sometimes I push people too much. And that creates some unpleasant discussion we might have. I have to very much control myself sometimes to be able to, not to do it too much.
Okay. Well, what you just describes a little bit your personality. I think you shared with us that your MBTI personality type is you're the commander, ENTJ, extroverted, intuitive thinking, judging personality. And these are typically people that are very decisive, who love momentum and accomplishment, and they gather information to construct the creative vision, but rarely hesitate for long before acting on them. So people with your personality, they can be efficient, energetic, self-confident, strong-willed, strategic thinkers, charismatic, inspiring. Fits the bill, I would say.
Yeah, it does. It does. But also there are some weaknesses. So it's not always rosy.
Well, let's talk about them.
Not only rosy.
So, and let's talk about how, I mean, you're still young, but you must have developed in a couple of areas. So if you could share with us, I'm going to name a couple of typical weaknesses for people with your profile. And if you could share with us how you have developed yourself. And so people with your personality profile, they can be very dominant, stubborn. They can be intolerant, impatient, up to being arrogant. They can be very poor in handling of emotion. They can be cold and ruthless. So you can't be all of these weaknesses. So how have you developed yourself and to be successful as you are?
Most of the stuff, fits the bill well. So, but coming to your question, I think it's about control, self-control, right, and effectively detaching yourself from the moment, right, taking this proverbial deep breath and counting down, right. So that you don't act on the emotion, you try to kind of detach from the very particular moment and take a bit more time to digest the situation with your, let's say, slow thinking system, right? Because obviously the fast thinking system that you have in yourself is very dominant, right? It's very dominant. It gets you, most of the time it gets you where you want. So you tend to over rely on it, because it works, right, from the experience. So in situations that are problematic, let's call it this way, my idea is to stop relying on my fast thinking system and just take a deep breath and think this through, because otherwise I can act too fast, in a bad way, right, as well. I could create a very unpleasant situation for myself and for someone.
Yeah. And how did you learn that? Just by doing it, or did you go through a training, or you went into, I don't know, you had a coach that helped you with this? How how do you organize your own professional development?
Look, I tend to read a lot on that. I'm always loved reading in all the aspects. So I tend to read a lot. I used to have a coach, but it didn't work out for me. I didn't like it actually, honestly. It was too slow, and I had a coach, but I couldn't make it work. Maybe I should come back to it one day. But so I tend to self-reflect as well. Right? So I tend to kind of think about the past moments and analyze them and see what I could do differently. And that's my general conclusion, what I told you from these moments, right? That sometimes I feel bad about acting some way, and when you kind of add together all these moments, you can conclude that perhaps acting too fast is not great. I also talk to people quite a bit, not formal coaches, but some people with more experience, more life experience as well, and that teaches me quite a bit.
Yeah. Who are the people that you look up to? Do you have mentors that helped you? You look up to public figures that inspire you? Can you maybe mention a few?
Yeah, look, there is nobody I could, it would be nobody that is internationally recognized that I could quote directly. But generally, I very much look at the people that have been successful in certain areas, not only in business, but also outside of business, scientists, people who were able to achieve something against the adversary or in the difficult conditions. And I then try to understand why they were successful and what made them successful. And this is something that I do. I mean, of the people that I really like, there is one famous book that a lot of people read, and it's about it's a 100-year-old history. The book is called Endurance, and it's about the trip to the South Pole and how the leaders were able to save everyone despite all the adversary because the way they acted. I don't want to, if someone didn't read it for whatever reason, please do. So I'm not going to tell most about it, but the story is amazing. It's true. It's an amazing story, and I think it's a testament that strong leaders who maintain positive despite all the facts that are around them can actually create a miracle, which this whole story was.
So let's go one level deeper, Tomasz. You shared with us that you have a family, 2 boys, 8 and 11 years old. So young children. What are the values that you're passing on to your sons, and what are the core values that you live by yourself?
Yeah, to me, I think the most important value that I actually use is hard work. Right? That without the hard work, the talent will not get you anywhere. I know plenty of super talented people that failed or didn't achieve to their potential because of lack of hard work. So I think that's something that I'm trying to pass to my kids. Right? You can be talented in any area. You can be ahead of the others at any particular moment, but without hard work, you'll not be successful. And it's very difficult in my view, especially with the younger generation these days that are very, they want to see the results very, very fast, right? So that's something that I do. And the second one is integrity, right? I kind of am a person that sometimes maybe overly so, but not holding back what I think, and I die by the sword that I have sometimes. But effectively, I think that's also very important to, in an environment that is changing so fast, in a business environment that is changing so fast, People need to act quickly, and in order to be able to do that, the communication has to be rather straightforward, more straightforward than not. That's why I'm kind of trying to pass on to my kids to communicate well, to communicate in a straight way with others, because that's what it required to be successful.
So Thomas, you're very results-driven, goal-oriented, hardworking, driver of change and innovation. How do you relax? So when you get home in your private space and time, how do you get back with your feet on the ground?
I like to connect with nature, and my way of doing that is cycling. So I cycle a lot. I spend at least 10 hours per week cycling. And I've done that for the last 5 years. Before I did other things, but last 5 years is a lot focused on the cycling. You know, I always loved cycling, but now there's this additional element that it cleans my head. And as I said, I love the nature, so you always are able to connect with nature from the bike a bit more than you are from the car, right? You're able to see more. You go to the mountains, you go to wherever you want with the bike, and that's what I do.
Okay. And do you have a personal mantra, Tomasz, a saying that helps you when you have to make decisions, difficult situations or whatever?
I do not. When I have a difficult situation, difficult decision to do, I focus on my values. So when I'm unsure what to do, I really look at my deep values and try to kind of get the answer from there.
Let's go a little bit more maybe to your personal life, if you allow us. I mean, you're very, very successful. A lot of good things have happened to you, but we all have our setbacks in life as well. So are there any things that have helped you to develop as a person? I mean, could you share with us what are some of the worst things that happened in your life and what you learned from them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Worst thing that happened in my life. You know, I tend to, and there are a lot of things that happen in everyone's life, right? My kind of idea behind, how to go forward is to learn from it and then forget about it. Because, life is full of disappointments. And if you spend too much time focusing on this, your baggage will grow too heavy for you, right?
Yeah.
So,
but could you give an example?
Yeah, look, for example, when I was working on some investments before, right, it wasn't always success. We had difficult situations, not really our fault, but relating from the business environment in which these companies operated, that effectively made us to do quite heavy restructurings in the companies, change the strategy and prioritize short term as opposed to the long term, because that was, let's say, necessary for the company to survive, right? So it wasn't always rosy. With Żabka also, when I came in, the situation wasn't ideal at first, right? We were investors in Żabka. I was part of the supervisory board, and suddenly the company, let's say, sidetracked. That created a lot of tension, a lot of need for immediate change, and a lot of stress. And this is, what constitutes me now. Not only the successes, but also these failures in a way that we went through and I went through. Okay.
And then the flip side of that, what's the best thing that has ever happened to you?
My family. My wife and my 2 kids. I mean, that's very easy to answer for me. I really think that we together create a fantastic family. We try to develop our boys, make them, discover the world and be successful in their lives. But also we have fun, and my wife is not only, my wife, but also my best friend.
What is it that you fear most and love most in your life?
What I fear most, that's a good one. I don't fear really anything, like really, really badly. I fear a little bit for many different things. actually for all the things I'm doing, I'm worried. This weekend I had to spend at work because there was some problem with one of the businesses that we have, and I always kind of worry about what's going to happen. But it's not like I'm worried and I'm paralyzed. Like I'm worried and I'm trying to fix things, right? This is how I approach it, right? So I worry about most of the things, but I try not any of these worry not to consume me, not to paralyze me, not to make it so that I can't make a decision. Right? That's my modus operandi. And what I love for my for my business to succeed at work. I love to see my boys grow and be successful in what they do. I love to see, I love to travel as well. I love to, spend time on the bike. I love many different things, right? I try, despite some of the my kind of personality factors, to remain a positive person, which is not always the easiest, as you know, my type.
If there is, I mean, you're clearly a very gifted person as well. But if you had to select one gift that you have received from the universe that helps you in your life, what is your most important gift?
Look, I always thought about myself, I don't have one single gift. Like I'm good in a lot of things, but I'm not great in anything. And I think that's the best gift, right? That I received a little bit of gifts in different areas. I'm good in analyzing things. I'm good in synthesizing things. I'm decent in communication, especially if I really focus on it. But I'm not great in anything. The one thing I was great at, but I've lost it, is I had a super memory. I really had incredible memory. I could remember, I could tell you, when I was a teenager, I could remember 200 rolls of dice in a row. And I could tell you like roll number 57 was, pair of 6 or whatever. So I really had this ability to kind of remember stuff. But when I grow older, I kind of lost it because my mind, developed in a different way. So that's that.
Tomasz, last question for this brilliant interview, thank you so much for it, is if you would look back at your younger self when you're 25, or we look at the young, ambitious future digital leaders, business leaders, what is the advice that you would give to these young people that they also can follow in your footsteps and become successful? 2 words: growth mindset. So to have and to exhibit a growth mindset attitude, right? This is the only thing that you need. Once you have growth mindset, and you're able not only to rely on what's currently in your head, what skills that you have, but also rely on others, rely on getting advice from others, changing the way you approach things. One thing that is certain in life, other than death, is change. Situation change, businesses change, environment change, and we have to be on top of it. And the only way to be on top of it is through growth mindset. That's it. Okay. And on that note, Tomasz, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to meeting you soon when I'm over in Warsaw. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Henrik. Thanks, everyone.